Welcome to Amazon Legends, where we have real stories about making it big on Amazon. Our guests are CEOs of large companies and entrepreneurs who became power sellers, also providers specializing in helping sellers, aggregators that acquire sellers, and former Amazonians will give us an insight from behind the scenes. Here is your host, Nick Urison.
Welcome to another episode of Amazon Legends. My next guest used to be a traveling salesman, and he turned Amazon seller. Now, that transition is quite a transition, and he's going to tell the story himself in a second. It's very inspiring, and I can't wait to hear it from him. I already heard it, but it's such a powerful story. So, today, he's the Chief Revenue Officer of TraceFuse and an active seller of supplements, one of the hardest categories on Amazon. And TraceFuse is a service that removes negative product reviews. So this is something that you are going to want to hear about. And when he's not working, he likes to ride motorcycles and he likes outdoor activities. So with that, everybody, meet my guest, Danan Coleman. Welcome to the show, Danan.
Thank you, Nick. Good to be here. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it very much.
So today, you're going to share extremely valuable knowledge with us, which is all about removing negative product reviews, which is every seller needs. This is despite everything you hear about, no, that's it, they are there to stay. It is possible to remove them, but there is a methodology to follow. And if done correctly and precisely, what you're going to share with us actually has a success rate of, what I have a note of here is 5 to 15%.
Yep.
So this is what we're going to cover today. So we're going to walk through the entire methodology of what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. So you don't want to miss a second of this conversation and learn from Danan. In the meantime, before we start that, share with us your story of how you went from being a traveling salesman to an Amazon seller, and an Amazon seller that's doing very well. So where did that come from?
Yeah. So 2010, I was a traveling salesman for a chiropractic consulting company. I worked in the office and traveled every other week, right? On my way to work, I was riding my motorcycle, and a school bus coming the opposite direction basically made a left turn right in front of me as I was entering the intersection. And, I looked at the driver looked through me, I thought at me, and proceeded to start turning. And that's when I went, oh dear. So, fast forwarding through a few details and what felt like a lifetime to me, I ended up hitting the side of the bus at an angle and, broke 10 bones, ruptured spleen, kidney, lung, and stuff like that. A few bruised pieces and broken pieces. And so I was no longer able to travel for work. And so by the time I got out of the hospital, I'm quite literally a cripple. I am crippled and in a wheelchair and stuff like that. So I had to figure out how to make money. And I started by offering my ability to sell to anybody that I could. In the meantime, my wife is, because we now no longer have any income, she is literally selling everything out of the house, starting with all my stuff out of the garage. What was left of the motorcycle, we sold that for parts. It was basically just the bottom 3/4. All my tools, all my toys, everything. It was just all going to pay for bills. And eventually, I had a friend contact me and say, yeah, I just put this supplement on Amazon. And it was from the sister company of the company I was working for before I got ran over, right? And I went, well, shoot, can I sell it? And he's like, yeah, sure. And, $10 a bottle. And we were selling them for $24.95 at that time. Right. And I'm like, I'm in. And leading up to this, my wife had basically figured out, this is pre-Facebook Marketplace. So we're selling on Craigslist and eBay. Right. My wife had figured out that it was the very first image that was what made the sale, because it would get the clicks. Right. So she figured that out, and we applied that to Amazon. And this is at a time when Amazon FBA was, I believe, an invite-only program. I didn't even know about it, right? So we got invited in 2011, 2012, something like that. Obviously, after they'd done some testing. And PPC didn't even exist. And there were listings on there that had only one image or even 0 images, right?
Mhm.
So we sell this supplement. We do a really good image, and we're selling like hotcakes. You know, it was going really well. And then another supplement company, came up to us and said, "Hey, would you sell this supplement?" And we said, "Yeah, sure, no problem." And you know, that's what we did. We were selling the supplement because we're on the verge of medical bankruptcy, right? So we're selling the supplement before we had the inventory. And after we made the sale, I would go down the street to where the inventory was, buy it, pack it, and ship it. So we were selling with 0 inventory. You might call it drop shipping, but
Well, it's
that's,
called just-in-time inventory.
yeah, just in time inventory. There you go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was doing.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
I would list the products and then
yeah.
receive orders and then turn around, place a purchase order, and my suppliers would ship either the same day or the following day to me because I would buy in bulk and
Yeah.
then receive the PO, break it up, and then ship out the orders we had to fulfill.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool. So yeah, exactly. That's what I
Yeah.
was doing. A little more simple than that because it was a buddy of mine right down the street. You know, there was no shipping to me. I just went and
But
got it.
under your own label, you had created your own brand, or were you just reselling theirs?
We were reselling theirs. In
Okay.
fact, that's what we do to this day with the supplements that we sell. It's not even private label. So my model today is we have an exclusivity agreement with the manufacturer of the supplement. We get the product on consignment, and once a month we do the numbers and say charge us for this much and send this much inventory in, and here's the label. And that's the extent of the work. We don't even run ads today. Not that I suggest or even condone that to people. I'm just telling you, like, it is technically possible that if you get a contract like this with some brand that's well known enough that people are searching for it, like, I haven't seen it a lot recently, mostly because I don't do my own searches, but Amazon goes out and buys Google ads to send the traffic to Amazon, and they'll buy for brands. So they used to buy Google traffic for the product that I was selling and run it to Amazon, even though I wasn't paying for ads.
Yeah, I mean, this is not the subject of our discussion today, but for my
Sure.
listeners, I want to say that this is definitely a valid business model. Categorically, you are a reseller, but
Yep.
you're not competing with another seller and then getting into this buy box battles to drive the price down. You
Yep.
are the only seller, but you have to have an exclusive agreement with the brand. And so then there are a lot of brands that they're just manufacturers. They've been in
Yep.
business a long time. They
Yep.
created their brand and they have no interest in selling directly to consumer. And at the
Correct.
same time, they want that piece of the pie.
Yeah,
that
they know that
online
Amazon
retail.
has value, right?
Yeah, exactly. And also, being on Amazon as a product, being on Amazon has a lot more value than just the sale that you
Yeah.
generate. It's the presence of
Yes.
being on Amazon, because a lot of people, they go look up on Amazon. If the
Yep.
product is not there, it means something. If the product is there, they look up the history of the product. So if you search for those brands, they may be listed on Amazon, nobody is selling it, or if you strike up a deal, then you get the exclusive representation.
Yeah.
That's something that is always advisable.
Yep.
Okay, well, what a story, going from being crippled to
And on the verge of bankruptcy.
yeah, I was gonna say on the
Yeah.
verge of bankruptcy to being a seller, and of course the advantages of being a reseller, the way you had it, is instant revenue, right? Because there's
Correct.
already a listing, you don't have to do anything.
We built the listings on these ones in this case.
I see,
Yeah.
but they
So
had already recognition, so there was demand already, awareness, I should say.
yeah, they just weren't on Amazon. Like, we've been selling the product that we're selling now, this brand, for gosh, must be nearly 10 years now, somewhere between 8 and 10 years. So at this time, they weren't even on Amazon. And I approached them. It was just a phone call to the CEO. I said, hey, this is what I do. This is what I'm offering. I want a consignment. I want exclusivity. We'll pay you when it sells. What do you think? He said, yeah, cool. Let's try it. So I flew out there. He met me to make sure I was a real person. And then we got started.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the negative reviews. So walk us through how somebody goes about doing this, and then tell us about the principles behind it. Why would you be able to remove these reviews that are left by users?
Cool. So let's start off with what constitutes a negative review that can be removed. There's basically two different categories. There's fraudulent reviews, and then there's reviews that just violate the community guidelines, right? And so we'll start with community guidelines. Basically, what you do in order to locate reviews that are in violation of community guidelines is you need to read and really understand the community guidelines and what actually is a violation. Just remember, your opinions and feelings on your own product don't matter to Amazon at all, right? In fact, and look, I'm guilty of this myself. Like during COVID, when our sales were just going through the roof, Amazon shut down all 4 of my Seller Central accounts, no notifications. I sent some fairly heated emails to them, and it had zero impact, zero. So keep your emotion out of it, but understand the community guidelines and be factual in what you're telling Amazon. So that's number one. I couldn't even tell you how many times I've read the community guidelines and I still find things where like, oh man, I missed that, right? So again, when you are working with Amazon, you have to be as factual as you can and to the point, but as concise as possible as it can possibly be made, because nobody at Amazon wants to read a book. I think we all remember the time when we were getting cases just resolved with no responses, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's because Amazon went out and hired a whole new team outside of the US, and they were graded based on how many cases they'd resolved, not whether they had solved them, but marked as resolved. So you just had a bunch of people clicking resolve, 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 resolve. Found that out recently. So, the main thing is, backing it up, be as concise as possible, as factual as possible, and you'll have a better chance of getting a response if you do get one, right?
So community guidelines, can you share with us some examples of reviews that violated those community guidelines? What kind of a review would do that?
Well, I'll just rattle off a few. If there's competitor information in there, so something like, especially if it's competitor to Amazon, like I found this with a better price at Target, right? Mm-hmm. That's a competitor to Amazon, and it goes over. If it says you can find this for $5.99 at Target, well, that's pricing information and competitor information, right? If there's swearing in there or defamation of any sort, like these guys are thieves, you can find this at Target for $5.99. Well, now you've got 3 different parts, right? Let's just take one more. I'm trying to think of something. Well, whatever. Anyhow, I'm not going to try and build this crazy thing, but you get a lot of, medical advice is another one. So we've got a lot of people that sell in supplements, right? I sell in supplements. If anyone gives any sort of medical advice, boom, that is a major violation, because are they a doctor? Maybe. Do you know that for sure? No, definitely not, right? And we'll even go after reviews that say, my doctor said that if you take this vitamin C, that it'll give you gout and blah, 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 right? So it's just like a whole bunch of medical advice that is unsubstantiated. So those are another thing. That's another type of violation that you can go after. But in the community guidelines, there are lots of different things in there that would constitute a violation in a review. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be a review that 100% violates. It could be a section of review. Now, we've found that the higher the percentage of a review that's in violation, the greater chances of it getting removed. But then again, you get these cases where there's like a 10% violation and it says, yeah, this brand is better. I don't like this brand. And the other brand is less expensive, right? Something like that. And it gets removed. And there will be another review that says Target.com is so much better. Their prices are way better. Their customer service is better. I hate Amazon. And that's an extreme example, of course. Maybe not Target.com, but let's just say Target, right? And they'll be like, no, we don't see anything wrong with this review. It's like, okay, well, actually, you're blind. So, the next thing about getting those reviews removed, let's take that extreme example, it's persistence. That's the biggest thing. Is most sellers, they just don't have the time that it takes to get these reviews removed, because it is a very lengthy process. Sometimes, most of the time. But it's, they'll send an email to community help. They'll click on that report button once, maybe twice. And the report button, I mean, I don't even know if that really does anything, to be perfectly honest. Like, it just says, thanks, we'll look into it. And I've never received, there's no response, but you have to be logged into your Seller Central account or a buyer account in order to click that report button. So they know who reported it, right? I've never gotten a response from clicking the report button before.
So you would create a case to do this, of course, right?
Yeah, so there's a number of different ways that you can go about this. The best way to create a case is through brand registry, because they actually have a form for reviews that are in violation. So what I would recommend you do is click that report button. Who knows if it does anything, but click it, right? And then I would submit my case to brand registry. And that's what we do. That's one of the things that we do.
Okay. Okay, so that's useful tip. Don't do it through Seller Central. Do it through brand registry.
Yeah, Seller Central will tell you we don't do this anymore.
Yeah.
Well, not all the time. Sometimes you get lucky, It's at Amazon, I think we all understand at this point, and even Amazonians understand that the right hand doesn't know what the left is doing, right?
Right.
Most of the time, if you try and submit a review for removal through Seller Central, they'll tell you, we don't do this here. Please click the report button, right? And most sellers don't know that there's a form in brand registry to get reviews removed, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I still have seen occasionally from sellers that submitted a review for removal to Seller Central that it actually got removed.
Mm-hmm.
It's rare, but it's happened, and it's happened recently. I think the last one I saw was a few weeks ago.
So what about some reviews that don't necessarily mention a specific price and a competitor, but just say, this is outrageously expensive, too high, it's not worth it. What about those?
I'm going to do the lawyer answer on this. I'd like to refer you to the community guidelines and your understanding of them.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, what would I do with it? I'd submit it.
You would.
Yeah.
Okay. Because it's not up to somebody to decide, really. They are influencing. And okay, so I have a couple of questions here for different scenarios.
Yeah, bring it on.
Vine reviews.
Not impossible, but highly improbable. Amazon likes to really protect their Vine reviewers, and I'm convinced that recently I actually found a Vine reviewer that was a fraudulent reviewer, and there were too many reviews that this reviewer had done that were 1 stars on all of a similar product, and it was in supplements too. So on a similar supplement product, I've heard not great results from most of the supplement people that have done Vine, because supplements are such a subjective thing,
Mm-hmm.
and many supplements you need to take for a consistent period of time to get a change, right? You can still report those, right?
Mm.
If it is a violation, or if there is some aspect that's in violation, those Vine reviewers are contractually bound to, follow the community guidelines. We all are, right? But they really are. So that being said, we don't see many Vine reviews that are blatant violations of the community guidelines. They'll have some aspect here or there, but those are tougher to remove, but we have done it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So what about reviewer himself or herself?
Yeah.
Does their background, because whoever is reviewing it, you can click on the name and then you
Yeah.
can go at their history.
Yes.
So is that something that plays any role in your capability to remove a review?
Definitely. That's when
Okay.
we get into the fraudulent stuff, right? Here's a few things that we look for when we're looking for fraudulent reviews. Are reviews that have duplicate content. So it's always better to have us go after all of your ASINs, because we're able to then locate the same reviewer that's purchased multiples of your product and left nearly the same review, right? And that would constitute an attack on your brand. Someone bought 3 or 4 of your products and they left almost the exact same review every time. And these fraudulent reviewers, they love to use in all capitals, do not buy or buyer beware. That's like, there's got to be a group of them. They're like, hey, this makes buyers scared, right? So they put those in the reviews, and they put them in all capitals pretty much all the time, right? It's in all capitals. That's one scenario. The next scenario is you suddenly get a huge blast of critical reviews. And just so everyone's aware here, a critical review defined by Amazon is a written 1, 2, or 3-star review. All right. So you've got ratings. If you look at your reviews, it'll say 800 ratings, 220 with reviews. So those are ones that are written, right? And a critical is a 1, 2, or 3-star. So a 3-star, it appears, is not just neutral to Amazon, it's actually bad, right? So at least in reviews. Now, if you were talking about seller feedback, a 3-star is considered neutral. And I don't know why there's a difference between those, but there is. So we're going to look at these. We're going to be looking for spikes. Let's say on average, an ASIN gets one critical review per day. And suddenly there's 15, 12, and 9. And it goes back down to 1 a day. That's a huge anomaly, right? So we're going to look into those buyer accounts and go, all right, what happened, right? And if we find that those buyer accounts, that they are using reviews that are very similar or even the same, or they're using the same pictures or the same videos, or it's the only review these accounts have ever done, we're going to roll all of those buyer accounts into a single escalation case with Amazon. Look, say, Amazon, look, we found evidence of what we are completely certain is fraudulent activity, which is obviously illegal on Amazon.com. Please investigate this. And we've gotten at up to 137 or something reviews removed once on one of those escalation cases.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's such a big deal. Okay.
Yep.
So you're looking at the profile of the reviewer, and you are seeing how many critical reviews that person left over time. And if you see a spike, that usually indicates something abusive.
We're looking for spikes on your ASIN.
On our ASIN.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we'll go and look at those reviewers. Now we'll also, that's not the only time we'll look at the reviewer or the buyer account. If the review left is like, especially people that have been selling for a long time, like you can look at a review like, something's fishy about that, right? So we know what those reviews look like because we know what your product is. And we know what it looks like. Also, if they put a picture of a different product, that happens all the time with fraudulent stuff. They'll put something completely different in there, or a similar but different product, right? And leave a critical review. So what we'll do in those cases, we're still going to go investigate those buyer accounts. And then what we're looking for is, let's just say vitamin C, right? I sell vitamin C. There's a fishy review. It says, buyer beware, do not buy. This gave me hives, and also I was unable to eat for 42 days after taking it, right? Like, all right, that's a wild claim right off the bat, right? For simple vitamin C. So we go look at the account and we go, oh, look, this guy's done 3 reviews, all 1 star on different vitamin C's. And look at this one. There's a vitamin C that has a 5 star. And it's just raving about how great it is and it changed their life and blah, 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 blah. Really suspicious, right? So we're going to go after that account and take that to Amazon and say, hey, look, we believe this is a fraudulent account. I'll give you another one. So what you'll often find is that the claims will be very similar across all of the critical reviews. Gave me hives, couldn't eat for 43 days, right? They'll change it up a little bit, but it'll have given them hives and they couldn't eat for 43 days, right? Another one is, and this is a great tactic, if I'm being honest. We found an account where somebody would leave, it was a couple of buyer accounts, 5-star reviews on their competitor. Great product, but I prefer this product, and put in the full brand name of the competitor with a link to that product in the review, which interestingly is okay. You cannot put links in reviews. That's all what we all know, right? You cannot put links off Amazon in reviews, but you can put a link to another product in a review, it seems. So he also put the link to his product in there. So what do you get from that? You're getting backlinks on your competitor pages. You're getting backlinks to your own review. He did this to a ton of products that were similar to his. Also, by the way, in the supplement space. So it was good. So that our customer reached out to us and said, hey, can you get rid of 5 stars? I'm like, why? And he sent the review. I'm like, oh my God, what a good tactic. It's a 5-star. Who really looks deep into 5 stars, right? You look deep into 1, 2s, and 3s, 1s and 2s for sure, but 5 stars? And this guy had like 15 5 stars on similar products with almost the same review, of course, different, but the link to the competitor product and so on. I mean, it's like the old days of SEO. I think most Amazon sellers understand search engine optimization at this point. Amazon is a search engine. You do want to optimize your listings, right? So it's like optimizing your web pages. And with every new update that Google would come out with, like Penguin this or Donut Hole or whatever the latest one was, people figure out how to game it, right?
I just had an idea as you were talking.
Tell me.
That's a brilliant move.
It is.
5-star review that has the competitor link.
Yeah.
So
and no, we're not going to offer that as a service. Hey, it's Danan Coleman from TraceFuse. I wanted to thank you for listening to the Amazon Legends podcast. Nick and his team do an amazing job creating this content. TraceFuse has removed over 8,500 negative product reviews on Amazon for our customers, and we'd like to offer you your first 2 reviews removed for free. Go to tracefuse.ai/Amazon Legends to book a meeting and get your first 2 reviews removed for free.
Well, I give you an idea. So you familiar with Amazon Creator Connections?
Sure.
So if you are in the Amazon Creator program, you can upload a video on a PDP for a product.
And tag products.
And yeah, I mean, it will automatically tag with your creator ID.
Yeah.
And then anybody who watches that video buys anything, not only your product, anything.
Yep.
You get a percentage of the entire cart, right? So that's the creator. So all those listening who are in the Creator Connections program, go leave 5-star reviews with a backlink to a product of your choice, and then fill up the PDP for that product with your videos, because they will watch the videos. And then anybody who watches your video, they came from the review, watches the video, you're going to get a piece of the action.
Let's hope Amazon doesn't get a hold of this episode, huh?
Well, it's legit, no?
Well, anything's legit until Amazon decides that it's not and hits you with the hammer of illegitimacy.
Well, I mean, listen. So you're right. So this is what I learned, Dana. So I look at the big picture of what Amazon wants and compare it to the action of whoever is doing it. So what does Amazon want? Amazon wants great customer experience, right?
Correct.
So where does that experience come from? It comes from content.
Yep.
So that content is ratings, reviews, that gives idea. It comes from information, A plus, blah, blah. But videos, they favor videos. There is a reason why they put videos. So if somebody creates a lot of videos for a particular product, these are legitimate videos, and then they put them on the product detail page, that's good for Amazon because it's going to give a lot of information. And how you bring somebody to that page, as long as it's legit, it's fine. If Amazon allows the product links, that means it's acceptable. So you've got acceptable way of bringing traffic. You've got acceptable content. And you put the time and the effort to produce those videos. It benefits the product and it benefits the customer, and therefore it benefits Amazon, and they just pay a percentage of it to whoever is.
Yeah, I see a case study in your very near future.
You know, there is someone both you and I know, Carlos.
I was just going to bring him up. He just did a video, or he just launched a course on this.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, so my listeners, go look up Carlos Alvarez.
Yeah.
He's been on my podcast. He's a great guy, seller, major, and entrepreneur. God knows how many businesses. Really
He's
diverse.
exited 17 or maybe 18 by now. Or no, maybe didn't exit that 18th, but 17 exits.
Yeah. So he's the one who said these creators, they can upload videos, that they use the videos for two purposes. One is for good. That means they make good videos and then put it on the page, or they make bad videos, but they are hired by the competition. So he said the Chinese sellers do this. They hire these creative connection people and they pay them $100 or $150 a video. And then they fill their competition's PDP with this is not good, and then direct them. So
I just did a video for an e-bike company. They paid me $500 for a 60-second video.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I looked into this, and the people in this program, Creator Connection program, they create a plan of how many videos they should publish over how long. And once they get up to a certain number, then they know every month this is how much they're going to get. They get paid either by making videos based on request or simply the revenue these videos generate.
Or both.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, those are options.
One last thing. Sorry. You just reminded me of something. So I actually helped Carlos run the Tampa Wizards of Ecom location. I don't think I mentioned that to you before. So I'm very close to Carlos. Yeah.
I mean, he's very smart, but more important, I mean, he's like constantly coming up with ideas.
Yeah.
Diversity. Like he has a laundry business and
car washes.
Car
washes. His main Amazon business is I don't think he wants me to talk about that. I let him tell that. I think he doesn't want that getting out, but he also at one point pre-COVID, he had like 70 different Airbnbs, mostly in the Miami area. Imagine, I don't know how this guy does it. This isn't about Carlos, I know, but it boggles me how he's able to manage all this stuff. I just don't get it.
Well, team, right? He must have good people around him. And that's
for sure. But it's a lot of businesses with a lot of moving parts, even still. So I admire him for that. But you brought something up earlier, which is customer experience is the most important to Amazon. And I just want to bring us back to that real quick, because that is actually critical in when you're communicating to Amazon. You have to prove to the person that this review is harming the customer experience.
Mhm.
That's critical.
Okay. And it's harming the customer experience and therefore harming the Amazon image.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And making it so that the customer has trouble buying the product, right? Because the reviews, the purpose of the reviews from Amazon is to help other potential buyers make a buying decision.
Mhm. This is a perspective that's very important that people have to have. So when you are selling a product that obviously you put your time and effort and money to produce, you are emotionally connected to the success of that product.
Yeah.
So when something goes wrong, you kind of go on the offensive, or really you are defending the product. That's not the perspective. Don't try to justify, oh, this reviewer did this, this is why it's wrong, and the product doesn't. That's not the perspective. The perspective is what this reviewer states is harming the customer experience and it is damaging to the image of Amazon, blah, blah. That's the perspective. You
That's the
are
perspective.
irrelevant. You are nothing. Your revenues, your product means nothing to Amazon. There's plenty of them. But it's the image and the experience they try to provide, and focus on that. That's a very important piece of tip. And I'm going to give you an example of this. And it's an extreme example of how powerful this perspective is. As you know, during COVID, as soon as COVID became a big deal, Amazon immediately took action for those who were selling masks. Before COVID, being a mask seller is nothing, right? What's the big deal? It's not dangerous goods. It doesn't have any ingredients or anything that may be harmful. It's just a piece of material you put over your face. That's it. And as soon as COVID became a thing, they immediately removed all the mask sellers, everybody out. And it took a few weeks, but during those few weeks, they created a process for approval. Approval of seller, approval of listings. So as it happens, during COVID, I had a client who was a mask manufacturer. Except that they had nothing to do with the kind of masks that everybody used for COVID. Their masks were for woodworkers, construction workers against dust and things like that. So, and they had been in business for years. They had all kinds of certifications, everything. And they primarily supplied Lowe's and Home Depots and companies like that, but they also had their Amazon presence. They really were not very good because they didn't know what they were doing. So they became my client about 4 or 5 months before COVID started.
I was just going to say, perfect opportunity for people like you and I.
Oh, yeah, yeah. They had a catalog. Of course, they had many colors and sizes, and not knowing really, not having the business sense, so to speak, but typical entrepreneurial. They had like 8, 9 colors, 3 different sizes. So each parent had like 20 plus variations, and they had 5, 6 different parents like that. So the catalog was a mess. Duplicates. Plus, they sold to Amazon at some point. So Amazon created listings. It was a real mess. So we spent a lot of time cleaning up the catalog. Anyway, COVID starts. We don't know what COVID is. That the COVID is a thing. Blah blah. And one day, suddenly, big panic. They are off Amazon. Why? Because Amazon took this action. So what I did was I knew who the head of the guy who ran Amazon US Marketplace is, major guy. As it happens, he was my second-degree connection on LinkedIn.
Nice.
So I sent an email, a message through LinkedIn. I said, you don't know me, and I just wanted to bring something to your attention because it is in the best interest of Amazon US marketplace practices
There you go.
under today's conditions.
Yep.
I work with the client. This is what I do. You can check my profile. And I work with a client who has been in business for a long time. And this is what they do. And unfortunately, because of the current situation, they fell victim to the latest action Amazon took for all mask sellers.
Yep.
I totally understand why that is. I will just make one point. At a time like this, Amazon shoppers desperately need a legitimate and reliable seller of masks. And this company is one of them. And by not offering their products, Amazon is actually doing disservice to Amazon shoppers.
There you go.
So therefore, I would ask you to reconsider this particular seller's situation. And if they can be reinstated, you would actually do a lot of good to a lot of Amazon shoppers and also this seller. Danan, same day in the afternoon, I got a call on my cell phone. And this guy says, I've been told to contact you, and we investigated what you reported, and this seller will be reinstated.
And that's awesome.
You just need to give it a few hours, and it should be okay. They shouldn't have any problems. We will have a process soon for vetting sellers, but they'll be excluded from that process.
That's awesome.
And I said, thank you so much. You really made my day, and my client will be very happy. I said, can I have your number or your email? If something happens, I reach out to you again. And he says, no, this is a one-time thing. We want it.
Yeah. So I have a similar story, and this is during COVID as well, when they shut my accounts down. So we're selling vitamin C. The only thing that I can think of is one of the things that are in our multivitamins is vitamin C, right? And something happens on the news and like, people are claiming vitamin C cures everything, right? And so a whole bunch of supplement providers got shut down. Well, I had no bad marks on my accounts. I had no performance notifications. I had nothing. When I called seller performance, they say, everything looks good. And I'd be like, it's not good. I'm shut down. I can't sell. I'm like, I don't see anything wrong. Like, it's all wrong. So I leveraged somebody I knew at Amazon as well. I just said, hey, I know you're not in this department. This is 4 months of going back and forth with tickets being just, it killed us, right?
Sure.
Just tickets being resolved without any response at all and stuff like that. So I reached out to someone and I didn't get a response back, but the next day my account was back up and I just didn't ask any questions, and
Sure.
I wish it wasn't that way.
Yeah.
It didn't used to be that way. That's for sure. Like back in the old days, as they like to say, like I had a person that I would call Arizona. I had her extension number and I just like, hey, this is what's going on. Can you help me? Yeah, sure. Fixed. Done. All right. Thanks. Bye. See you next time. But yeah. Anyhow, well, yeah, it's funny. It's unfortunately that's the way it is, but it just does go to show like Amazon cares about Amazon, right? They do not care about you as a seller. They will say, you guys are responsible for 63% of our sales and we love you and seller support's going to get even better, like what they did at the last Accelerate, right? But they don't actually care about you. They care about them and they care about their customers. So as long as you come from the point of view of this is about you, Amazon, this is about your customer, and this is negatively affecting one or the other or both, you have a much better chance of this being seen.
Yeah, and back it up with facts.
Yes.
That way you'll go. So, Danan, I have a question that's, you tell me if this would work. Community guidelines, right? So the objective here is look at the review and see if it's in violation of the community guidelines. So let's
Yep.
face it, you are talking about taking a piece of text and comparing it to another piece of text,
Yep.
and then subjectively deciding this is in violation.
Yes.
Okay. Can that be done by using ChatGPT?
Absolutely. I have a prompt.
You have a
Now,
prompt.
yeah, I'll give it to you.
This is what I'd like you to do.
Okay.
Take your prompt,
I've got a whole ebook I'll give to you.
pack it up with
Yep.
your ebook with the prompt in a zip file, and then we're gonna put it in your episode page
All right.
for anybody to download. Okay, so anybody listening to this, go to the episode page and download the ebook and the prompt. That's your way of plugging in the review into ChatGPT and figuring out exactly what is
Yep.
in violation, if it is in violation, right?
Yep. Yep. It's actually just that simple. Now,
It's-
the problem though, Nick, is that Amazon only gives you the last 100 reviews,
Yeah.
right? Now, not us, because one of the questions we get is how far back can you go? Well, all the way, but you know, you can at least on the weighting system. So a couple of things that you need to know I haven't told you yet. Number one is that a 1-star review has roughly the same weight of somewhere between 10 and 12 5-star reviews. If you ask
Wow.
me, that is backwards, majorly backwards, right? But the review system's not mathematical, right? So it's not just how many of these stars compared to how many of those stars gives you a star rating of 4.1. It's the most recent reviews have more weight than the older ones. They don't give you the exact scenario, but I know that Google does it this way, and I suspect they've got a very similar algorithm. You have the more the content in a review, the better the chances it has at being weighted differently, ending up in that what buyers like, what buyers don't like, right? In the AI assessment of the product. I think that reviewers that have done a lot of good, high quality reviews have more weight than other ones. But I've forgotten what I wanted to say now. The weighting is different. The number of star reviews. Shoot, what was the other thing I was going to tell you, Nick?
10 to 12 positive reviews.
Oh, well,
Same
one
as
negative
one
is,
negative review.
yeah, thereabouts. So, we were talking about Amazon only gives you the last 100. So, you can use a tool, and I've been toying with the idea of building this with TraceFuse as a tool to help you download your reviews. But even if you can only get the last 100, that still gives you a lot of stuff to run through GPT and figure out how many are in violation. And then from there, you can read the review, compare it to the community guidelines. If you're a whiz at doing prompts, you can take my prompt and then you can go beyond it, because when I built that prompt, it was like, I think we were at GPT 3.5 at this time, or maybe 3.5 and 4.0 had just come out. Now we're at 4.0, not 4.0, but 4.0, which, naming convention makes sense over at OpenAI. But you could take it and say, if it is not in violation, tell me what the violation is, and then get a little bit deeper on there, right? And then after that, it becomes persistence. Just, when you're filing a case with Amazon, just remember to keep all of your personal emotion out of it. They do not care what you think, right? Keep it to the facts, keep it concise. And another piece of advice I'd give you is write it in simple English. These are not lawyers, right?
Yeah.
That are reading these submissions. Keep it simple English. And then persistence, follow up.
That's exactly it. And if they say no, don't let it go. Doesn't
Yeah.
mean no.
No doesn't mean no.
In Amazon support system, no doesn't mean no.
Yep.
So you can keep pushing.
I have this crazy theory that Amazon they're like the IRS. They automatically say no the first time, because that probably eliminates 70% of their work.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, look, I heard this from one of the former Amazonians who was on the show. He said the support people are, their success is, I should say, their performance is measured by how many cases they are closing per hour. So a lot of the times they just don't even do anything; they just close it.
Yep.
So because they want to make their numbers, and therefore no doesn't, of course, no saying no is the fastest way to close something. So don't take it at its face value. Well, this is great. So as a recap, there's two pieces of this puzzle. First of all, take the review, compare against the community guidelines, make sure that there's no violation, and if there is, and you can use ChatGPT in the process, if there is, you can file on brand registry, not on Seller Central.
Correct.
That's one. The other side is take the reviewer and then go check their profile and then see if they left the same kind of review several times, paying attention to all caps, buyer beware, and that kind of stuff.
Buy. Yeah.
And the similar
Dangerous.
kind of review on multiple. So that's something that will give you the opportunity to file and say, look, this is not. And again, in both cases, whether it's just one review in violation or a reviewer doing it multiple times, those are the basis of your request to remove. The perspective is on how much this is hurting Amazon's customer experience that Amazon is looking to provide, and therefore ruining their image. And that has to be it. So would that be the summary?
That sounds about right. Yep.
Yeah. And make sure you download Danan's ebook and the prompts. That's going to be in the episode show notes, and go use it and enjoy removing, and keep pushing, persistence. Even if they say no, file another one and another one.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, and alternatively, you know, if you don't have time to do that, that's ultimately why TraceFuse exists, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I also want to say here, share with us your contact information.
Yeah.
And how can people reach you?
Yep. So easiest way is Danan at tracefuse.ai. Danan is spelled D-A-N-A-N. So that's the easiest way to get a hold of me. You may hear back from my assistant because I do get a lot of emails, but yeah, ultimately I see every communication that comes into my email. Yeah, that's the easiest way. And then of course you can go to tracefuse.ai to get any additional data. In fact, I've actually got a demo video that shows you how it works. So if anyone wants to see the demo video, you can do it there. But otherwise, yeah, my contact information will also be in the ebook, I think. Maybe, but email me if you need me.
It's an ebook. You can always add it if it's not there.
That's true. Yeah.
And of course, TraceFuse, this is what you do exclusively, right? There is one last thing that I want to add. Does it matter in order for, like, this is a lot of work, you know, somebody creating a case and staying on it, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And at the end of the day, it's time, and time is money. So for a company to say, you know, I don't want this, I'd rather have somebody else take care of it. I don't want the learning curve. I don't want to be the guinea pig in knowing what works, what doesn't work. And they want to come to you and hire you. Is there like a minimum requirement as far as number of reviews and things like that?
Yeah. So that we actually used to have a minimum requirement of 500 critical reviews. Well, we actually, about 3 or 4 months ago, we did away with that. That was something that I was instrumental in creating, was being able to accept any Amazon seller. Because, you know, the guys that have 500 plus critical reviews, and mind you, these are written reviews, that this is not your overall number of ratings, right? So we're talking, you know, if your written reviews are 10%, we're talking 5,000 reviews, right? Wow. So, or 5,000 ratings, I mean. So, me also being a seller, I have the unique viewpoint of being a seller. So when I brought to the team, like, hey guys, we need to be able to take on any customer and help any customer, because I don't care if you have 47 reviews. As you have less and less reviews, those critical reviews matter more and more, because there's just not as many 5 stars to offset them. So by removing 1 or 2 or 5 or 10 or 20 reviews from a smaller seller, and that's, by the way, smaller in terms of reviews. I've had customers come by that have like 30 reviews and do $1 million a month in sales, but they're selling like water pumps for industrial water pumps, you know? So it's not the dollar amount that I'm talking about here. It's the review amount. You know, on this particular customer, for instance, 1 review, that's all they needed to make it back up to that 4.5 star, right? That's all it took. And they were happy.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's, yeah, we no longer have any barrier to entry. Any seller can come in, and anybody, doesn't matter how many reviews you have, as soon as we've removed as many as we possibly can, there's no reason to cancel TraceFuse. It doesn't cost you to maintain being a customer. And we're going to be monitoring that ASIN, whatever active ASINs you have with us, on a daily basis. Every single day we're monitoring it. And if anything comes up that's a violation, you know, depending on how much you are tracking your own reviews, we'll know about it before you.
Yeah. So this is a great service. And frankly, yeah, I'm happy that you lifted that minimum requirement, because the world is very quickly becoming the marketplace for only a handful of very large sellers.
Yeah.
And then the little ones are denied access to resources. So you doing this, it's a very helpful thing for smaller sellers, and they are the ones who need this the most.
I agree. That's exactly why I made the change, you know?
Yeah, it's a great move. Thank you, Danan. This
You're
was a
welcome.
great conversation. Obviously, one can never be happy about somebody having an accident and then having that experience. But it looks like,
There's a silver
that's
lining.
the silver lining. You made the lemonade out of
That's right.
lemons. Your
That's right.
life turned out much better. I'm glad that you survived and
Yeah,
you
thanks.
recovered fully, and
Yep.
that you become an Amazon seller. And also now with TraceFuse, you're helping sellers. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Danan.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Nick. Have a good one. Bye. Use tracefuse.ai/Amazon Legends to sign up for the only white hat negative Amazon product review removal service and receive your first 2 negative reviews removed for free.
Thank you. And this brings us to the end of another episode, and I'll see you on the next.
If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review the episode, and share it with someone you think would benefit from it too.